Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would give you some tips regarding how I prepared for my psychology honours year. Let's get into it. So before I jump into it today, I just want to say that I've received some really beautiful messages from you guys, just saying that this channel has already helped you a lot, and some of the stuff I have said has either helped you deal with some anxiety or be a bit more positive. So I just want to say thank you for sharing that with me, because it is a really nice feeling knowing that, you know, I could offer something that has helped somebody else. So this video that you're watching right now, I've actually made it because one viewer in particular did ask last week if I did any preparation for honours regarding research strategies and writing techniques. And I thought, you know what, I've already made a video about my experiences in honours, but let's make a dedicated video regarding what I did do leading up to honours. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. And if you would like to check out the video where I discuss what to expect in your honours year, I will put the link in the description down below. Okay, so first of all, I know that a lot of students who want to do really well, we all have the exact same goal when the holidays start. You know, maybe our goal is to get a sneak peek of what's going to be covered in the following year so that we can go through that and read ahead, you know, get our textbooks. The light outside is going to keep fluctuating. So I'm going to break this video down into two parts. The first part is that you have the honours course subjects, and these are the ones where you have regular assignments, you know, your regular weekly readings and lectures and whatnot. Then I'm going to talk about preparing for writing your honours thesis. So as the viewer had asked, what did I do to prepare for my writing techniques and my research strategies? But I'll start with the course subjects because I feel that's a bit more simple and straightforward to answer. So for those subjects, I don't start preparing until I get the notification that on the online modules, maybe the first 2 weeks worth of readings for the subjects have been posted. Then I start to get into a uni mindset, and that's when I start to get ahead. I do those readings, I check out all the course content that's available, I make a list. If they've released all the assignments, I will start making my to-do lists for my wall. I like to have a clear outline of, you know, semester one, if you're starting at the beginning or at the beginning of the year, for example, February, March, April, May, and then I like to put the assignment, what it's worth for the overall class when it's the due date, and then just a box to tick it off as I go through the semester. So I like to prepare a lot of visuals just so I know what to expect, what's coming up. So that's all stuff that I do when course information gets dropped on your online learning system. Prior to that, I don't do too much. I like to take my holidays for myself. I like to, you know, engage in my hobbies. If you're into psychology, you're probably reading books anyway, like Man's Search for Meaning and whatnot, and that's enough just to keep you in the loop. So, you know, I think it's really important to take those breaks and have time for yourself, because honours too is it is intense. I don't mean that in a positive or a negative. I always like to flag that intense doesn't have to mean negative. It just means that it's very time consuming. So, you know, if you're on your holidays, enjoy them. But I definitely would want to get ahead from the moment that you first have access to those weekly readings. So I think that's pretty much it for course subjects, because like I said, I don't know, there's not really much else you can do for them. You just have to learn the content as it comes to you. If you have textbooks, maybe that's also when you'll start going through the textbooks, when you get access to your weekly readings and you can start to just look ahead. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So I wouldn't stress too much about individual subjects. The only other thing I guess you could do is in honours, you will always have classes dedicated to statistics and research leading up to the beginning of semester. But again, this was probably within that 2 to 3 week time frame that I mentioned earlier. I actually revised all of the lectures from year 2 and some from year 3 regarding statistics, just research designs and concepts. And I went through each video just to have a little bit of a refresher, because after the holidays, I did feel like I had forgotten it. Research and statistics is one of those things like learning a language. If you're using it all the time, then you'll remember it. But if you're not using it, you'll lose it. So that was something else that I had done, and I feel like that helped me immensely, because everybody else was sort of using the first few weeks of the statistics classes to sort of do their own revision, whereas I had already done the revision and now I was onto either new concepts or just had like going over old ground. I would highly recommend that, especially for students like me who always can't help but feel a little bit more anxious over research methods. So that is for the subject and core, that's for the regular subjects at uni for your psych honors degree. Now let's get into what I did in preparation for the thesis portion of honors, because obviously that's a massive part. Academic writing is a big deal. Understanding how you're going to go about doing your research is a big deal. But I will say I did not spend my holidays, again, focusing on it. Anything that I did, it would have been in those weeks leading up to the beginning of semester. The first thing that I did to prepare for my honors thesis was I knew that it would consist of writing a literature review and obviously a thesis. So I went through all my assignments in undergraduate and I made sure to save a copy of, because sometimes you lose access to them, save a copy of any lab report or literature review assignment, save the marking rubric, save the instructions provided, any extra details that the subject or course coordinator has provided, you know, like advice on how to write it. Hold on to all this stuff. Hold on to the feedback, the comments that you received on your work. This stuff will help you in your honors year because you can reflect back on it. I definitely did. I made general notes actually. I went through the feedback for like lab reports and I made I made a list of comments that covered more general areas that I needed to improve on. So for example, needs more critical thought. That was something that popped up more than once. So I was like, okay, I need to really make sure I'm paying attention to this. The literature review, I struggled with opening sentences for paragraphs. So that was something where I was like, I need to really understand how to open and close a paragraph so that they flow on from each other. This is how I started to prepare, because when you make that list of things that in the general strokes you weren't doing so well, you can then Google and research those things and be like, okay, give me examples on topic sentences. And I think that's what they called the first sentence of a paragraph. How do I do this? How do I capture, you know, what I'm going to say in this paragraph? That is how I did the preparation for the writing. And I also made notes of things I had done very well at so that I don't forget to do them again. The other thing is, in my experience, my supervisor communicated with me a lot about writing styles. Now, my supervisor liked my writing style. He thought it was very good. He enjoyed reading it, so we didn't tweak much in terms of that. But what he would communicate with me is like use of language, like words that you might use, words that you might not use, sentence structures, how to maybe make them, like, don't put fluff in your sentence structures. We spoke a lot about that. Please get feedback from your supervisor about if you've submitted something to them. Like, the literature review will be the first thing. That will probably be the first thing across all institutions that you write. After they read that first draft, if you feel they haven't provided enough feedback, positive or negative, on your writing, ask them. Just be like, I was wondering if there was anything you felt like I could probably change. You know, I'm always trying to improve my writing style, my use of academic language. Communicate with them about that, because they should be giving you feedback. They should be helping you strengthen how you communicate your ideas and your research. Fun fact, I think I mentioned this in an earlier video. I actually got the highest score on my literature review out of the entire cohort. Now, literature reviews are something where even after I have done that, I still sit here and I'm like, what is a literature review? Like, it's so strange to me, this concept of you're reading established work and you have to communicate this with your own ideas and this and this and this. I've come to the conclusion that maybe a literature review is something that just happens as it happens, but if you try to like pre-conceptualize it, it's a tough one. Now, I was really open with my supervisor about this. I said, I struggle with literature reviews. Like, I was more nervous about the literature review than the thesis, because the thesis, I had a better conceptual understanding of it, the different parts of it, what would be covered, what was expected. Literature review felt more independent. It was more open-ended. Being honest with my supervisor, because you should always ask questions, never pretend you know everything. Please do not overstate your abilities, because that's not how you learn. Being open with him and honest, He was so helpful, and he sent me a link to a video that was very good on explaining literature reviews, and I will, if I can find that, I will link it down below. But it was also up to me as well, and it's also up to you. You need to watch as many videos on literature reviews as possible. You need to find examples, paragraph examples of how do you do this? How do you reflect on established work or call out a lack of research? How do you draw conclusions? So leading up to the honours year, that's what I was doing. I was, again, going through past literature review assignments. I was looking at, okay, this is what they said I did right. This is where I probably lost marks. How could I improve on this? And then I would watch videos, I would read examples, and you might still sit there a bit confused. But at the end of the day, I think you're taking in more information, because after all that effort, I smashed the literature review literally out of the park. Like, when I got the email saying you got the highest score, I cried. I actually cried, because I was like, whew, definitely put blood, sweat, and tears into that. So in terms of writing, that is what I did, because other than that, it's a journey. Like, you can't improve your writing too much until you're exchanging drafts with your supervisor. That's just, you know, that's where the learning and the growing will come from, because they'll probably be like, you know, maybe we should reflect on how you're stating this, or maybe this doesn't make sense, or I don't feel like this is clear, and you've communicated it. And then you go away and you rewrite it and you start to see what they're talking about. So a lot of the progress is made during honours, but reflecting on strengths and weaknesses and learning more about theses and literature reviews, yeah, that can happen at the start. The other thing was that at the start of the semester, we all got access to read theses by past students who got marked very, very high. Now, we didn't have access to their feedback, so we didn't know what they got wrong or right, and we had to tread carefully with that. But it was just so we could see what a student thesis looked like, how it was written, blah, blah, blah. One of the first things I noticed was, oh, there are different ways to do this, because how a student wrote a biology-based thesis was not the same as how a student wrote a social psychology thesis. There were differences, maybe in the language they used. Some students wrote like, I did this, whereas other students wrote, this was done. You know, that whole like first person debacle. The sun's back. So the other thing was, like, in a thesis you have a method section, right? That's where you have your participant, materials, and your method. I noticed this was different, like how this was laid out was different. Some students actually combined all that information, other students had separated it, and I didn't know you were allowed to do that. So there are some things where you're not taught, like in undergrad, everything is made to sound like you have to do it one way or else. But looking through these different theses, I learned that there's some flexibility about how you present information. Again, please go over that with your supervisor. They will very most likely direct you on how they want information presented in your thesis. Don't be afraid to express to them too that you feel like there were some things that would come up, and I was like to my supervisor, but we didn't do it like that in undergrad. We were told not to, and then we would just discuss that. And that's how you learn too, and you realize that how things are done in undergrad doesn't necessarily reflect the real research world. You will learn how to navigate that as you discuss it with your supervisor. But yeah, if you get a chance to read other students' work, please do. Again, these are the students who got really high grades, so you might take something from that. Writing my thesis, I had received theses as well from my supervisor of his past students, so I was able to sort of just use that as well as a little bit of a guide. That's very, very helpful, because a thesis just feels so large and big, and you're like, oh, there's so many parts I have to navigate. Okay, so all of that, I'm so scared to watch this back and see if any of it actually makes sense. I sort of just, ramble, but all of that was in regards to writing preparation for the thesis and the literature review. I was also asked about research strategies, which I can interpret that in two ways. The first way is, did I do anything to learn about how to find research? I didn't. I just did what I did in undergraduate, which was things like Google Scholar or, the university online libraries. I kind of kept it very simple in my methods, but I didn't go into honours preparing how to look for research. The librarian held an online class for us on how to do research, and I'm going to assume institutions generally do the same thing. So hopefully that pops up for you if you find that helpful. She was showing us way more advanced ways. She showed us like expressions you can use and stuff like that. So when you're searching, real fancy stuff, which I won't lie, I didn't end up using. But if you're interested in that, definitely look into it. The other way I can interpret that is research strategies. Did I go into honours already researching things to do with my honours project? I did not. The only thing that I knew about my project was that my supervisor is a vision scientist. So I took the time before semester started to revise the vision system and just understand, like make sure that I understood all that, you know, ventral, dorsal stream, all that cool stuff, parts of the eye, just for my own like benefit of being able to go into conversations and feel confident, you know. So I revised that. I knew that he worked with certain types of illusions, so I revised those illusions just a little bit, nothing fancy. I did not start reading about my topic until I had actually settled on a project with him. I know though that most people go into honours knowing what the project's going to be, like the effects of breast cancer in mice and the effects that has on like anxiety and depression. Obviously going into that, you're like, okay, so I'm doing anxiety, depression, mice and breast cancer. It's totally up to you if you want to start diving into those topics before the semester begins. I don't know, like in my experience, my project changed a lot within a month even. Like I was going to talk about one thing and then we switched it up and I talked about another thing. As I was coming up with research projects to pitch to my supervisor, I was doing research anyway to see if like my little theories could even make sense, if there was any weight to putting forward a specific research question. So with that, maybe my advice is just go in the moment with the flow. You'll probably do more research than you end up pre-thinking you would. But yeah, research strategies, I just didn't really think about that. Yeah, I don't know, I can't offer much advice. I sort of just Googling everything. That's how I did my research. And then making sure obviously that everything was peer reviewed. That was my research strategy. Is it peer reviewed? Yeah, so that's all I can offer for that portion. But I think that's everything. If I feel like I've forgotten anything, I will put it down below. But yes, that was how I prepared for my honours year at the pre-semester beginning. And I hope that you found this very helpful. Please do not panic if you do not have access to your past assignments, or if semester's starting in like 2 weeks and you haven't done anything. Don't panic, because you will catch up, and even 1 week in advance, just sitting down and taking the time to look at what you'll be doing or covering this semester is you being prepared and getting prepared. Again, there's still plenty of time alongside writing your literature review and thesis to also be watching videos and learning how to strengthen your ability to write those forms of writing. What a sentence. So yeah, never panic, never think you haven't done enough. The main thing is you can start now. You can always start. It is never a case of, oh, I didn't start 3 weeks ago, so that's it, there's the semester gone. Absolutely not. But yeah, I'm really excited for you guys who are starting your honours projects in July. I think that's mid-year intake. Very, very exciting. I really hope you have a fun year. And for the people who are halfway through, you're halfway through, like you're almost there. You're almost there. I know it's the last 6 months where it's like, whew, you know, work, stress. But already 6 months have gone by. Like, that is insane. It flies. It really does. I had the privilege, I had a very amazing supervisor. He had amazing PhD students and other honours students who I got to work with. So I was very, very lucky in my situation. I really hope you guys like your supervisors or have been liking them. And yeah, if you have any like tales or things you want to share with me down below, please do, because I think it's cool listening to other people's experiences and stories. That's what makes life cool, isn't it? That we all have diverse experiences and it is not one size fits all. And, you know, an experience that someone else might have with their supervisor, pretend their supervisor was a bit more closed off or something, then potentially they find a different way to navigate honours than I have. So then that would become more useful information for people with similar types of experiences. But yes, I'm going to stop rambling now. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up and please hit that subscribe button. I think it is so cool that I get so excited. I get very excited seeing new subscribers popping up, and it's awesome because to build a platform built on positivity and productivity and just genuine communication is really wholesome. Like in 2022, that is very wholesome. And eventually I kind of want to branch out from the academic stuff and actually make videos to do with other areas of my life. I paint, I have an interest in wellness and beauty, and I don't want people, if you've come to this channel for the academic stuff, I will always be making academic content. So just, yeah, keep that in mind. If I make a video on something else, I'm not done talking about academics. I'm just branching out a little bit. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Okay, well, take care, and I will see you next time. Bye.